Kilo UHB9GHR.
Yeah, HB9GHR GM8LFQ. No problem, Roger. Well, it's good to hear the news anyway, and as I say, I'm glad to hear that everything went well with your visit, and you managed to stay clear of any bugs and viruses and COVIDs and any of those other nasty things that are running around at the moment. Fine on the weather. Yeah, well, as I say, glad to hear no damage, but looking at the TV coverage and some of the videos, my goodness, those poor guys down there in those states around Mississippi and Alabama and up into to Tennessee, they got really hammered. And also, I'm very surprised how far north it went, right up into Rhode Island, and up into New Jersey, New York, and Massachusetts. Quite amazing how much water fell on those states as well. So, yeah, it's not been a very good summer all in all. And, of course, over on the western side, they're having their problems as well with the fires, as usual, during the dry summer period. So, all in all, on the weather side and natural disasters, it's not been good news coming out of the States. But I think with climate change or global warming or whatever they call it nowadays, we're beginning to see more extreme weather all around the world. Other than the Orkney Islands, we seem to be getting away with it. In contrast to the rest of the United Kingdom, we've come off very well so far. Last winter was relatively mild. The temperature dropped just below freezing, minus 0.02 degrees Celsius. That was the coldest we got. We had about 2 centimeters of snow, which lasted 24 hours, and then it melted away. The Gulf Stream, which runs through the islands here, coming in off the Atlantic, does keep the sea temperature relatively mild, and consequently the air temperature at sea level is pretty much always above freezing. It hovered around about 4 or 5 degrees, but as I say, the temperature at the moment is about 20 degrees, so we don't get the extreme swings of temperature that the rest of the UK has had. Further down in Scotland, on the mainland of Scotland, particularly up in the higher ground, up in the mountains, I think they registered minus 25 degrees Celsius. And further south of the UK, they were down minus 15, minus 18 degrees. But they've had some very heavy downpours of rain and flooding, and also some very high winds, winds exceeding 90, 100 miles an hour down on the south coast of the UK. Normally that's the sort of wind we get up here on the north coast of Scotland, but the strongest wind we had over the winter period was 60, I think my weather station registered 60 miles an hour. So that is relatively calm for the north coast of Scotland, and consequently no damage to any of the antennas. So we're sitting quite pretty up here on the north coast. Whether it will last, I don't know, but it does seem that over the last couple of years things have got calmer and warmer up here in the Orkney Islands. And when you look at the rest of the world going to these extreme temperatures and extreme weather conditions, we're considering ourselves fairly lucky. So there we go. But propagation-wise, things are beginning to improve. We've been QRT for a few days, so I don't know what the latest propagation is like, but certainly since the beginning of the year I've noticed an increase in the propagation on all bands. 40 meters is now picking up, and 80 as well. The low bands are beginning to burst into activity once the sun goes down and it gets dark. There's some good propagation across the Atlantic into South America and the Caribbean and North America. And last week, or I think maybe the week before, we were up until the very early hours of the morning working into Alaska and the west coast of the U.S. So no complaints about the conditions. And 20 and 17 and 15 is beginning to open up now. So it's all looking pretty good. So that's the latest. And yeah, fine on Dom and Justin there. Well, I'm glad to hear that Dom managed to get through and get back home safely. And glad to hear that you guys enjoyed your stay over there in the US. We're sitting tight for the moment. There was a plan for us to go across to the Galapagos this summertime, but obviously with the conditions at the moment with the pandemic, that's been put on hold. Possibly next year that will happen. And the next possibility of travel will be early next year, possibly down to the Falkland Islands, down to Victor Papa 8, on a small mini expedition with a couple of guys from Florida. But again, we're going to have to wait and see. We won't be making a decision on that until later in the year. So fingers crossed, and if all goes to plan, maybe next February we'll be off for a couple of weeks down to the South Atlantic. So yeah, everything's very uncertain at the moment, as I'm sure you're aware. Anyway, that was my long over. Back to you there, Roger. HP9GHR, GM8OSQ.
You know what, Jeff? There's no such thing as a long over between friends that are family. GM8OSQ, HP9GHR, and yeah, touching back on Hurricane Ida. The places that got hit the most was at the beginning and the end, Louisiana and New York, and I was hearing reports that New York was getting as much as 3 inches per hour. And it was lingering, so we're talking 3 inches per hour times 5 hours. That was raining basically into the New York subway system. That's 15 inches, and they say an inch of rain is equivalent to about a foot of snow. So in just 5 hours, it basically would be snowing 15 feet or about 5 meters. In those 5 hours, and the subways really got hit hard. And I was talking to Martin earlier today, K2PRD, and he said where he was, just upstate New York, nothing. So it had skated to the east of him and went along the Atlantic there. And he got some rain, he said, up there as well, but nothing like what happened along the way in the south and on the way to New York. Regarding Galapagos, wow, beautiful idea. I still remember looking at your old QRZ page, with your pictures of you and Christine and those giant turtles. I don't know if they're called tortoises or turtles, but boy, they are just amazing. How wonderful, how beautiful, and how big and how old that they get. And I'll definitely cross the fingers for February. I think that if you're going to the Falkland Islands, that probably means a visit by Victor Papa 8, Lima Papa, and Bob. That's what I'm guessing. Maybe you tell me otherwise when you're next over, but I hope that works out for you. And if so, I'll definitely be looking forward in the early to middle part of the evening. 20 meters, I generally hear Bob quite well. It's a straight shot between Falkland Islands and where we are for some reason. I think I'm crossing the fingers for you for February and hope that you make it. Is it going to be you and the guys from Florida and Christine, or is it you solo, Jeff? GM8OFQ, HB9GHR, back to you.
HB9GHR, GM8OFQ. Yeah, it's a couple of guys. It's Carol, Alpha.
Ti prego la scappatara, va bene.
Alla medio, perché comunque dovevo centrare 4 bande, no? La casa costruttrice ti dà una serie di forature da dover centrare un pochettino. We go down there and spend several weeks. We go down there on a full 3-month visa and help at the giant tortoise breeding centres on Isabella Island. And it's good. It's lots of fun. And of course, operating from, well, it's Hotel Delta 8 now is the prefix. Used to be Hotel Charlie 8, but it's now been changed to Hotel Delta 8. So that'll be good fun. Again, I just take a lightweight radio setup, the KX3, a 300 watt linear amplifier, and some wire antennas, and that's good enough to get out on all bands. So that's going to be good fun as well. At the moment, Galapagos are accepting tourists, again providing you've been fully vaccinated and pass all the tests. So if it stays that way, then maybe next summertime, August, September, October, something like that, we'll look at getting down there. So it's very difficult to make plans for the future. Things do change quite rapidly,
The United Kingdom has a tendency to go back into lockdown at short notice and putting countries on amber and red lists with very, very little warning. So we're just hoping that things continue to improve and eventually, I guess we'll reach herd immunity. But the way things are going at the moment, a lot of people are not getting vaccinated, and I think the idea of getting herd immunity is to get, I think, 75 or maybe 80% of the population double vaccinated, but the vaccination wears off after several months, and we're now going into a booster program to get a third vaccination shot, and we're still not much further advanced than we were a year ago. So it seems that we're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Anyway, that's the way it is, Roger. Yeah, so, listen out for us from Victor Papa 8 and Hotel Delta 8. Hotel Bravo 8, Golf Hotel Romeo, Golf Mike 8, Oscar Fox Quebec.
GM80FU-HB9GHR. Well, first of all, it's a good thing I said I didn't know if they were called tortoises or turtles. I left myself an allergy out, so Christine won't have to smack me, and I'll forever call them tortoises from now on. And definitely be on the listen for you in Victor Papa and Hotel Delta land. And I hope it does work out. Especially the Galapagos. I mean, your helicraft is pretty popular and well known for lightweight yet powerful equipment. So, I've never even heard anybody from Galapagos, let alone talk to one yet. So, we'll have to see how that goes if you and Christine make it there. Maybe we can set something up, and you can be my. I will have the privilege of having you be my first contact from the Galapagos. Well, in any case, as you put it, things are changing. They're always changing, so we'll see how it goes. I don't know if it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back, or 2 steps forward or 1 step back. I just, I just make comparisons to. The 100-year ago flu, people call it the Spanish flu, or at least we did in our history books when we grew up.
CQDX, outside of Europe. Echo Alpha 5, Juliet Zulu. Echo America 5, Japan Zulu, CQDX, over. 4 Lima 6 Delta Lima from Echo Alpha 5 Juliet Zulu. Very good evening, thank you for the call. Amen. You have a very nice signal here, very strong. My name is Paul, Papa Alpha Uniform Lima. My name is Paul Armen. I'm located near Valencia. I'll give you a signal report on the next over, Brad.
You're in a pretty good place, and as the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. GM80FQ-HB9GHR, back to you.
Yeah, HB9GHR, GM80FQ, yeah, that's absolutely right, Roger. Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Yeah, well, it certainly hasn't affected us as much up here as it has the rest of the world.
November, November. Mike Whiskey 6 Hotel, November, November. Mike Whiskey 6 Hotel, November, November. Calling CQ and I for any call. CQ, Mike Whiskey 6 Hotel, November, November. Mike Whiskey 6 Hotel, November, November. Mike Whiskey 6 Hotel, November, November. Calling CQ and I for any call.